How we go? How we going? How we going? Well, we are here and we are going. That's how we're going. So let's take a look here with the Mainline Executive Coaching.
Where are we going to?
How are we going? Is that last call that we had got me going?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting fellow. So anyway, welcome Mainline Executive Coaching ACT. We're here for you. We're here for you, leaders, aspiring leaders, emerging leaders, for you and your organizations. What is the stuff that makes you great? What is the stuff, even better to ask, what makes your people great, your culture great?
Yep.
That's what we want to talk about today. I'm here with my partner, Rich Barron. I'm Maikel Bailey.
Hello.
We're going to be looking at today something that's everybody's heard about, maybe they haven't looked at very closely. This idea of the comfort zone. What is your comfort zone as an organization? What's that all about? Are you that comfortable in your comfort zone? And what does it mean if you are comfortable? Is that a good thing? Maybe it's not so comfortable. Maybe it's not so good. Let's take a look at that. So, Rich, what about this comfort zone for an organization? What's that about? How do we start? How do you and I read that?
We have talked a lot about this in the past and worked with people on this to find out what is the real cost, and if people really understand what the true cost of being in a comfort zone is. And that comfort zone, I think for a lot of companies, a lot of people may look different, but it's all a killer. It's all a killer. I think when we're in this comfort zone, our brain tricks us into thinking that if you try to get out of it, you're doing the wrong thing because there's a certain amount of fear involved, right?
Yeah.
Change is not easy. It's quite frankly, it's pretty hard. But it's costing 75% of all the companies out there in the ability to change, the ability to pivot, the ability to move with the business world. And so 75% of those companies are failing. And some of them are actually going to eventual extinction because of this comfort zone, this inability to really determine what it is that makes our company great.
Yeah, and that when you really take a look at that, guys and gals, you who are leaders, I'm going to tell you something, and you're probably going, well, I do that already. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. And it is a matter of being able to look at things through a prism of just what's true. What's the actual truth of what's going on here? We often think of it in terms of critical thinking, in terms of looking at the facts and what's going on here, looking at the data stuff. We've talked about this many times. It's not just about the data here. It's about the people as well. It's about the people and the data and how they work together, how they can work against each other, how leadership can help, how leadership can actually hobble that whole process of making a great culture, building great people, building a great company. And so we got here is, what is the comfort zone? I'm going to suggest something here to you, that the comfort zone has got subsets, you might say. And one of the subsets is clarity, that you actually do know what's going on. You're clear about what works, clear about what things need to be adjusted. There's an honesty about it, that you're just able to take a look at it and see it for what it is and to deal with it. So there's the clarity zone inside the comfort zone. Then there's also a level of your business, no doubt, that it's kind of a confusion. Things just aren't making sense. You're not sure what to do with that. You're wrestling with these things, this kind of issue, that kind of issue, the client, it's just kind of confusing when you really take a look at it. Then out of that other zone that's there, we'll talk about another one, that's what I call the denial zone. And the denial zone is that you're really not owning what's really going on. You're oh no, we're okay. You know how guys are. The guy's walking in with a broken leg and a broken arm, a shoulder. He's coming in with, how you doing? Well, I'm good. I'm
really good. You look great.
You've been there.
Yeah. You're feeling good.
Ready for another run down the mountain.
That's right.
That's the way guys are. Sometimes women are that way too. Just kind of this denial about what's really going on. So the denial is in itself a problem because you're not dealing with the facts, you're not dealing with reality. In other words, you're not dealing with truth, right? But then it leads to another place. It's really bad. And that's the delusion zone.
The delusion zone, absolutely.
Yeah, once you're confused and then you pretend like everything's great and it's just fine, then you've got to go to a place called the delusion, where you're saying, well, we really are. We really believe our own PR. We're believing our own lies now, and we're going to keep perpetuating that no matter what. And once you get to that point where you're now working on a delusion, you're disconnected to the reality. That's a tough place to be, because it's not an either or. What I want you to understand, this comfort zone, right, Rich? It's not an either or. You're either here or there.
Right, right.
These are all operating at the same time.
Yes.
All at the same time in your comfort zone. There's the clarity, there's the confusion, there's the denial, and then there's the delusion. Those are all operating at the same time. That's what makes this comfort zone sometimes hard to deal with, hard to figure out, because there's so many conflicting views and impressions and opinions and all this. It's very, very dynamic. It's moving around a whole lot. What do you think about that? This sense of these different subsets within the comfort zone.
It's interesting because last night, Maikel, I was working on a project with my son.
Yeah.
He's going to school up in the great state of Washington, and so he had some questions on a business class he's in. So we talked a lot about this, and we talked about what's called the Galapagos Syndrome, which is really the closed island mentality that we see a lot of not only nations go through, but organizations go through. And essentially what it is we've got businesses and companies that at some point in their existence did really well. Man, they broke the mold. The product was the greatest ever. They got it out there and they became very successful. Well, what happened is because of their traditions, their traditional values, or not wanting to change. Why should we change something that's not broken? So let's leave it be. Let's just leave it be. And so what happens is your competitors start picking up on your success and taking it to the next level. But what's happened is because of your current fear to change or unwillingness to change, or those little subsets within your culture that you don't want to change, because by gosh, they worked at this point, so they got to keep working, right? So what happens is now your competitors start getting ahead of you. They start taking your idea and changing it and moving ahead. And while you're sitting in your comfort zone, because we enjoyed success at one point in our company's career, that suddenly we find ourselves behind. And it's called the Galapagos Syndrome. And it's a very
the other thing it could be called, the other thing it could be called, the great grandpappy effect.
Yes, absolutely.
If it was good enough for my great grandpappy, it's good enough for me.
It is. Yep.
It just gets stuck in, well, we always done it that way. We're always going to do it that way. And if you don't like it, you better start running for the fence right now.
Yep. It's like driving your grandpa's 66 Ford truck because he bought it brand new and it came off the showroom floor and it was state of the art then.
It was
still runs down. Yeah. Beautiful thing.
It really is. Yeah. It becomes that entrenched status quo. Just do it my way. Don't dare think outside the box, outside the comfort zone. Just keep doing it this way. And everybody gets acclimated to it, kind of like the Pavlovian dog that's being shocked all the time. Yeah. Don't dare do that. Don't go there. It's going to cost you. Yeah. And so it creates this inbreeding of thought. It's not a free marketplace of thinking, of innovation, of change. And it's all driven by fear. And that's kind of what we want to talk about here. Yeah. That you've got to tell the truth. To tell the truth, you have to start by saying, you know what? We are afraid of some things. There are some things that we know aren't working out. We're not sure what they are. We don't know why we kind of keep doing the same kind of thing. We're not breaking out, or we're not growing. Talking to some people last week, we're growing okay, but we could be growing a lot more, but we're kind of afraid of that pulse. And when we talk to them,
we're still growing. We're still happy.
We're still growing.
We're still happy.
The industry is growing at 10 to 15%, and we're growing at 3%, so we're fine.
What happens, Maikel? What happens when your employees who helped you create this great product or service that you've got, and see the rest of the organizations now taking that and running with it, and they're not going anywhere? Where do you think they're going to go? man, they're going to start running with the pack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that happens in organizations. Sometimes organizations that merge or purchase another one, they get great technology, but they don't know what to do with that technology.
Yeah.
And instead of embracing it and opening it up and let's take a look at this, because we know you're able to create great results with what you did, we just don't understand it. Instead of doing that, they go, oh, we don't want to do that. We're just going to just keep doing it the way that we've always been doing it. And so there's this, and you have to look at it in this way, ladies and gentlemen. You got to look at it this way. It's not the organization that's doing this. It's people doing it.
Yes.
It's people in key leadership positions that are putting the cap on the growth because of their unwillingness to grow, because their unwillingness to reach out and learn more, do more, bring more people in, build the company, build the synergy, build the innovations going. It's the individuals. It's not the organization. And if you're at the top there at the CEO and you don't really see that going on, even though it is going on, you're not picking up the cues, it still goes back to you.
Yeah.
It's still in your bailiwick that things aren't happening, things aren't going on. So what can they do? Let's give them something. We've been kind of, whooping on them a little bit here because, doing what their grandpappy did. Yeah. What they were doing over there. Japan used to be a great place to do industry. I remember back in the 1990s, it was like the place to go. They got it. They understood it.
Yeah.
30 years have passed, a couple of generations now in place, geez, they are struggling. We know that.
They are.
What do they do? What suggestions can we give them?
Here's one of the things. We had a great conversation with a gentleman by the name of Bob Jordan not long ago on one of our podcasts. Very insightful. Bob, absolutely. Very insightful, very knowledgeable about what he does. Now, he says that he gave us some examples of CEOs who got into organizations and did awesome. Man, they really turned it around. But suddenly, after they got things turned around and head in the right direction, they had nothing else to give. And so who used to be the superstars are now, flaming out because they were pretty much one and done.
Yeah, they burned out. I mean, they got the rocket going in a new direction. That burned out, but now instead of being a new fuel, it becomes dead weight. And they don't recognize it.
Yeah, and they don't recognize it. The company doesn't recognize it.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm not abdicating you get rid of all your CEOs or whatever out there, but it's the right leader, the right time. And I think that's what it's the right leader at the right time.
Yeah.
You've got to look at where business is going and what the trends are showing. And do you have the right people there to drive you to that next level? Because culture is a top-down function. That comfort zone is part of that culture.
I love what you're saying there because what you're really saying is businesses go in cycles.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's the time for the visionary. There's the time for the new products. There's the time for getting the systems in place. There's the time for really pressing forward and making sure it really gets done. These are business cycles.
Yes.
And each type of leadership has their own, you might say, their own natural abilities, their own, their wheelhouse that they're comfortable in. And that's part of it. So I love what you're saying here, Rich. Go on.
So based on that, leadership and as leaders, as individuals, need to continue to sharpen their own saw. And I think that's very important. As leaders go, so does the organization. Yeah. If you're stagnant in your own personal development, if you're stagnant in your own comfort zone, if you will, and maybe living in that imposter syndrome, that overconfidence effect, whatever that may be, it's time to take a real hard look at yourself, because as you go, so does your organization. If you're sitting stagnant, so is your organization. If you're moving on and have this ability to hurdle that fence, put fear behind you, hurdle the fence and move on, your company's going to be right there behind you. Right there behind you. But not if you're going to sit there in that, pig pen, if you will, in the mud. So's your organization. And that's that comfort zone. Why should I go anywhere? Because it feels so good right here, man. It feels great. Feels great. Everything's going good,
It's going
growth.
good for me.
Yeah, going good, growth maybe 1%, but gosh dang it, that's growth,
It's not my problem.
Yeah, yep.
That's right. So sometimes, the wake up call here for the comfort zone people is, again, get to the truth, get to the reality of what's going on. Be honest. Let's bring it out. Let's take a look at it. You may find yourself in a great leadership position, and maybe your time is over. Not mean that you're over, but maybe there's another position, VP position. There's another place that you can go with your talents, your expertise, your experience. But there may be somebody else there. Conversely, there may be other people in the organization that are looking for their opportunities to go forward too, that they can bring a whole new set of juice to what's going on.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's part of what it is we want to take a look at. How can we help them do that? What's a place that they can go if they're, and that's a tough place. Let's be honest. It's a real tough place for people in leadership positions to be that honest with themselves. And that's why there's only like 5% of the world's CEOs that are the greatest CEOs, because they have that ability to just take a look at what's real, what's really going on. Facts, figures, the people, the whole thing. They're extraordinary people, and they're brave people, they're courageous people, and they're very, very honest people. So if you want to become that leader that really knows what it's all about and how it really works, how can we help? How can we help you? You may not know what to do, but we may have some ideas. Let's share them with us.
Well, let's talk about limiting beliefs, Maikel.
Yeah.
That's something you're an expert on, is helping people find their limiting beliefs. That is something right there. And I know, even though personally, when we're stuck in our own limiting beliefs and are afraid to take a look at what those limiting factors in our life may be, and not taking the time to work through it, that's the whole thing. It doesn't come overnight. It really doesn't. It takes a while to really work through that until the bulb comes on, and then you got to continue to find out what those limiting beliefs are and then work through them. I'm good at what I am. I'm a leader already. I've done this before. I've read these books before. I've got the title. I've worked up to this point, and so there's not anything else that I need to learn, which is probably the biggest factor right there in stopping people, that ability to be vulnerable to what it is that's stopping them.
Yeah, you got people that are visionary people, and because we've got the vision, because we're doing something really great, morally good for a lot of people, people should just jump to our cause and jump in and do it. Those people then ignore the bottom line. They don't really look at what's going on. They believe people should buy in just because it's such a great thing that we're doing here. Other people are really good at driving results. They're really, really good at driving results. But sometimes, as we were talking to somebody here a few minutes ago, there's a lot of dead bodies on the side of the road.
Yeah, there are. For those that can't change and can't keep up, can't run with the big dogs, right? There's a lot of dead bodies on the side of the road.
And there are those leaders. There are those leaders.
Yeah.
And they forget that in order to be able to drive, real processes here, you got to have your team with you. You can't drive people. That's their confusion. They believe they can drive people. No, people have to motivate themselves to get the results. You can drive processes, but you can't drive people. Once you start driving people, that's when the body count starts to happen. And that's your fault later if you're that kind of an individual, because you're missing what it really is that's going on here, right?
The same guy we were talking to, he had this analogy. If you're a big leader and you aren't helping the little leaders behind you, then you're going to fail as a big leader. You've got to be able to be teaching the little leaders behind you, is what he called them, and bringing them up to take your place. You've got to have someone in line to take your place. And he goes, there's so many people out there that are afraid of that. They're afraid of the competition. Why should I give this guy my secrets? Why should I teach this guy anything? Because he might get my job someday. He might get the corner office, and that's a problem. That's a real problem. So I think a lot of what we're talking about, Maikel, is getting somebody that has these tools to help you see through your limiting beliefs, help you understand the vulnerability, decisions that you're making in your life, and be humble. Learn how to be humble and move forward.
There's a misperception here, and this misperception is my gaps, my weaknesses, my shortcomings are going to make me vulnerable and therefore susceptible to being taken down.
Yeah.
That's the scarcity mindset. You see your gaps as vulnerabilities, or the vulnerabilities, the gaps, how I want to see that is going to take you down. That's completely the wrong way to see it, because I'll tell you what the real leader does. The real leader does this. Okay, I got a gap here. That just means to me that's the next thing to take care of. That's the next skill to learn. That's the next habit that I've got to habituate into my activities throughout the day, throughout my leadership. That's what a real leader does, because they see abundance.
Yeah.
They don't see the scarcity. Oh, now this is going to take me down and I'm going to lose and I'm going to The real leader embraces it, the gap, the weakness, the challenge, goes after it, builds it, turns it around. That's why people follow them, Rich.
Yes.
Because they see they aren't afraid. They take on the hard challenges. They push ahead. They press ahead. And as they push and press ahead, they're bringing everybody else along with them, because they're showing them this is what confidence looks like. This is what courage looks like. This is what blazing new trails looks like. That's what they're doing. That's why people believe them. That's why people follow them, as opposed to the one who's, I got to hang on to everything I possibly can because I'm a little concerned about how I'm feeling and being perceived.
Exactly.
Out the door, or else let me see if we can help you.
I'll tell you, Maikel. I got to tell people from a personal standpoint is we're not just talking about this because it's something to talk about. It's something that's new on the horizon, whatever. From my own personal experience, and I'm going to tell you, I got stuck in the comfort zone. We were doing great as an organization. We were making money. On-time performance to the customer was above 99%. We were doing phenomenal. 100% customer attention, name it. Things were going great. And literally, it was a one-day change. Came into work, left work yesterday, things were great, came in the next day, and it had hit the fan. And it was a result of something that a customer had implemented in their ordering system, and it threw everything off. Now, I'm not blaming, I wasn't going to blame them for the problem, but the thing is we were cruising in this comfort zone. And it went to heck in a hurry. And suddenly we realized that the direction we were headed, you can lose a company in a week, 1 week. I'm telling you, it's possible to go from great to nothing in a week. Because if you're in that comfort zone and you're not prepared, fortunately, I had a guy that I was working for, was a level above me, who had been through the same problem. Okay. And gave me some advice. And this was years ago. Gave me some advice about, what you've got to do now to get out of this. Which makes it much more difficult to get out of it than have a plan ahead of time, by the way. And the one thing I learned is it took time, but we got out of it. And it was a lot of hours. It was a lot of working with customers. It was a lot of phone calls. It was a lot of team meetings with the customer, working on the issues that may have created this, how to resolve this. And I'll tell you what, when you come out of the backside of one of these problems, you're changed. You'll never go back. The company will never go back because you figured out, wow, there's no way we're going to go through that ever again. But here's the kicker.
Not only that, you could avoid it, but you're smarter.
Yeah, you're smarter. Here's the kicker. Is the thing that I learned is if it's not broke, break it and learn how to fix it. Get out of your comfort zone. Have a contingency plan. Have a plan that if things, and don't ever get in your comfort zone, man, be on edge all the time. Be looking for that next good thing. How can I drive myself? How can we improve each other? And that's one of the keys, is how can we improve each other in this culture? Because in the end, it was those people that I had worked with for a long time, working together, that we got out through this together, because everybody was suffering at that point. So my, I know what the comfort zone looks like. I know what it costs us in terms of time, in terms of additional man hours, in terms of turnover, name it. I started seeing it all. So I can tell you there is an actual cost involved, financial cost, but above and beyond that, Michael, there is a physical, emotional, and mental cost.
Oh yeah.
To go through this, and it's not easy.
It
really is. I'll tell you what. We've got a great buddy by the name of Ronnie Shoemaker, and he's worked in the healthcare industry for a long time. That's where his career has been spent. So he is, and he's a person we could talk to about this, and I guarantee he would tell you the same thing, that you cannot sit quiet, cannot sit on your heels, because it's a killer.
Yeah. We as human beings need to have the next thing coming up. If we don't, we get old and rusty and tired and just worn out, comfortable in our comfort zone. And life is in itself dynamic. It is always changing.
Yeah.
That's why the need to be examining all the time. What is this comfort zone? What are we clear about? What are we confused about?
Right.
What are we, delusional about? We think we know, but we really don't know. That's what delusion is. We know. No, we don't. Yes, we do. And then finally we get into this whole thing, the denial of it all, and it becomes an ugly place to be. So we've got some tools that we can help them with. We've got some things, we've got some services that we can help these good folks with. Let's talk about those. What kind of services can we offer them? And there's a number of services. There's the leadership development, there's executive coaching that we can also do. There's also group coaching that we can do for folks. Depending on what you need, we can take a look at your culture itself. What's going on there? Maybe you think you know what's going on. Maybe you think it's great.
That's a great point there. Do you really know what your culture's doing?
Yeah, and most don't. Most think it's better than it is, actually.
Yeah.
They overestimate it, and they're surprised when they get back to results.
Or they don't want to know, because if they find out the truth, then dang, now I got to do something about it.
Yeah, that's right. Thought I was as good looking as Brad Pitt. People saying I'm not. What's that about?
Nope. That's an interesting story. I've got a buddy who is a big, I'm big in the outdoors, and he actually went out and was able to draw this area and got a great buck, deer hunting. And it was such a good looking buck. He named it Brad Pitt. But we all joke about it still, because it's still up on your wall, buddy. I don't care how good looking it is. It's still hanging on your wall.
All right. So what's our shout out today? You got any people that we want to shout out today to?
Absolutely.
We have people all over the world here. It's just amazing. It amazes me to look at this.
It does me too. We got some folks in the Philippines, and I got to shout out, some great people in the Philippines that are listening to us.
Very good. Very good. Yep. Philippines. Thanks. Keep it up.
And not only that, not just the Philippines, but everywhere else.
India, Brazil, Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
Germany, United Kingdom. All over the place here, man. All over the place. Great people. Great people.
Yeah.
So keep watching. Keep staying tuned. Keep following us. Email us. Contact us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear, even if we're not doing any business with you, we'd just love to find out what's going on. Maybe you'll be on our podcast. Maybe we would bring you on and make you part of the show. You could be part of the show. Give us your insight.
We've had some great coaches from around the world on our show. We've had coaches from Australia. We've had people from a great guy from London, Cedric. Really good guy. And we've had a ton of great individuals that have joined us. So
this could be your show of shows. Come join us.
Yep. and we'll get you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
We'll get you on our
Comments.
Yep.
And it'll be fun. We treat
Yep,
people very
absolutely.
well here. We don't embarrass people. We have fun with it. You'll have a great time. All right.
All right. Once again, folks, we are at the end of another rousing episode of Mainline Executive Coaching ACT, which stands for and cultural transformation. It also means you need to act to get out of that comfort zone. You cannot sit on your laurels and expect change to happen. You make it happen. So give us a call and let's talk. And until then, take care of each other, and we'll see you again next time.
All the best to you, folks.